During the night of January 31st, many of the lower-lying districts of eastern England were overwhelmed by a devastating flood.
Well, people went home innocently to bed. It was a terrible evening. Foul winds blowing.
I got out of bed, drew the curtains, and there was this magical scene in front of me of all just like glass trickling down as if it was running. And it was the water coming over the sea wall.
And it wasn't until the early hours in the morning that my sister came into our bedroom to tell us that water was gushing down the street. We just couldn't believe our eyes.
I woke my brother up and said, get your gear on as quick as you can because we're needed. And I went straight down and turned the launch over that we had. And in that time, I was only standing in water about a foot deep. By the time I got to the back door, it was up over my knees. You could see places disappear because the height of the water was increasing so quick. And we got Mum and Dad in, and my sister. Father went back into the bungalow to get a eiderdown and some more blankets for Mother and my sister. But we could hear him yelling. So we went back in, and there was Father. The lino had come up underneath the door and jammed the door, so we had to break the door down to get him out of the bedroom.
The gales were still blowing. It was bitterly cold. And what chance did you have hanging onto a rooftop of a shack of a property? It must have been a terrible way to go.
Another old boy lifted the roof off his house, and they were sitting on the roof, and his wife and a chap went by in a rowboat and said, I'll come and pick her up in a minute. I'll just go to the end of the row and I'll pick up 4 or 5 that are there now, waiting for me. When he came back, there was only one of them. He said, what happened? He said, I turned round, my wife had gone. She couldn't hold on any longer. She slipped off down the tiles and straight into the water and gone.
The devastation it had, from places like Tilbury down to Tendring and many other places where over 300 people lost their lives in the UK, but most of all, the biggest was on Canvey Island, and that was the saddest part of it as well.
We rode our hearts out, I can tell you. And the cold spray was coming aboard. It was freezing on us, and we couldn't talk to each other for a couple of days because we were chattering with the cold.
There was about 5 foot of water in our house. It was a difficult time, but we were eventually evacuated by the army and put in rowing boats to take us off the island to go to brand new secondary school, King John's, that was due to open on that Monday morning, but became an emergency centre. It was sad, because you heard that this one had lost their life, that one had lost their life. And Canvey was, like it is today, a very close community. We went innocently to bed like many other people did. And then to think that in those days, communications was nil. And as an example, people had actually drowned in Lincolnshire and Norfolk.
Nobody thought of phoning this Essex or Harwich or anywhere, letting the authorities know this way. So we had no warning whatsoever. And that really got up my jumper, I'm afraid.
It was a devastation surge tide, and we weren't prepared for it. It was absolutely unbelievable that people were having to survive in those conditions, and those that were able to survive must, like many others, thank God for it.